They walk in that room, they become yours. And you got this energy inside your soul that says, I am the number one determinant of the success or failure of my students. Hey, y'all, when you get back, kick some butt. I'll see you in the winner's circle celebrating your victory. Let's go. 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 Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you, everybody. And we are live. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to week 144 of the virtual AP Leadership Academy. Let me see who we got in here. We got John Few in the building. Arlette Johnson, Antoinette Gray, Rodney Richardson, Takesha Hyde, Grace Castaneda, Principal Otis Kitchen II, Demetrius Scott, Vanessa Zeskind, Monica N. Scott, Principal Dot McKeever Jeter, Darnell McElveen, Darlene Pettit, Michael Benton. That's Principal Michael Benton. They are all here. We got Darnell McElveen, Hotep, out there in Minneapolis. LaQuanta Stewart's in the building. We got the Queen, my wife, Kimberly Broughton Kafele, Renee Graham, John Hurix, Lisa DeBose Walker. They're all here. They're in the building. Hit that share button as you come in. I was noticing on some of the other streams that I watch on Saturday mornings, the numbers were down. I guess people are kind of wrapped up into what's going on in the news, but come on in and let them know we are here. We got Renee Graham, John Hurix, I said Lisa DeBose Walker, Cammie, Rashad Davis is in the building. We got Cammie Berry, Vin Tran, Tawanda McClellan is in the building down there in Mississippi. Principal Sherrod Laws is here. Tanya Pugh. Where we at here? It just jumped on me. That means we had a bunch come on at the same time. Let me see where we at. We got here we go. We got Nuruddina Saliha. We got Lysandra Brackens, my man Lou Saunders in the building. Melissa Jones Chunu in the building. Portia Ojigbo in the building. Liesa Jordan in the building. Tara Blackshire Scott in the building. Good to see you, Principal. We got MPA Jaguar. That's my man, Josh Tovar, 144. Lisa B. Woods Herman's in the building. Marguerite Simpson Lackard in the building. Where we got Monifa Neely down there in sunny Florida. Charlena Hadi is in the building. We got Dr. Charlene Williams out there in Vancouver, Washington. I appreciate you getting up in the morning. When I see the West Coast folks, man, I'm just appreciative of y'all getting up early. And then also the Hawaii and the Alaska. We appreciate all that. Kayunda Jackson Wilson, there's another one, Seattle, Washington. Man, I appreciate y'all getting up. You know, as they say in the Baptist church, that you see it, not robbery, to join us early in the morning. I'm getting ready to get it rocking, y'all. Toya Algarin is in the building. We got Principal Yolanda Nesbitt, man. Let me tell y'all, man, I was at her school yesterday, man. What a big deal when you get to spend a day with family. When I say family, I'm talking about virtual AP Leadership Academy family. So someone, you know, because there's quite a few of y'all, you're on here. Then you ultimately invite me to come out. We get to hang for the day, working with your staff, working with you one-on-one, whatever it is. So shout out to Principal Yolanda Nesbitt. principal of Clara B. Ford High School. I said Ford, did I? Barton High School in Dearborn, Michigan. Man, we had a good time. Had a good time with the staff. Shout out to staff as well. But look here, y'all. It's 11, man. Let's get started. Let's get started. I gotta drop my energy a little bit, y'all. So just don't be thrown by that. I'll explain. But let me at least formally say to you, good morning, greetings, and welcome to week 144 of the virtual AP Leadership Academy. And I'm switching today. And instead of doing it the way I normally would, I want to ask you a question. And my question is, how you feeling this morning? That's my question. I'm not doing I'm on fire right now, because quite frankly, I'm not. So I'm going to ask you a question. How you feeling this morning? I'm just curious, right? Drop it in the chat. How you feel? I mean, I feel good. Don't get me wrong. I'm home. I've been out on the road all week. I'm with my wife. I'm good. My health is good. My finances are good. The heat's still working in the house. I'm good, man. Because I don't ask for too much. You know, y'all know, I tell you all the time, I don't own a car purposely. I don't need one, right? So I live a very simple life. The most complex part of my life is when I travel, right? But when I'm home, it's real simple, man. That's this. I think I just kind of grew into that. I wasn't always this way. But you know, my man, I got to put my man up here. Vincent Stallings, Dr. Vincent Stallings. We go back to teenage years. That's my guy. He said, not good, mad and angry. That's where I'm at. So let's jump into it for a minute. I know you all jumped in here for my topic, but those of you who have been rocking with me since the beginning, then you know that when something like what happened with Tyre Nichols, you know I deviate. Those of you that have been with me from the beginning, you know that. When George Floyd happened, we deviated for about 2 weeks, right? And in so many other incidents that have occurred over time, we deviate in the intro. We're going to get to the topic. I got a guest here that's ready to rock. But let me talk about Tyre Nichols, man. Right? Just I think the first thing I want to just say is just condolences to his mom. I learned this morning that he had his mother's name tattooed on his body, right? They said he was like a mama's boy, right? And you know, and you heard him yell for his mother. I think that maybe that could be shocking for some to have a grown man in the middle of being beaten down to yell for his mother. But I think culturally, and I won't get into the specificity of culturally because I don't want to turn this into something else. But I think culturally there are many who can understand that, can relate to it. That in that time of like, I don't know what to do. All I can do at this point, because I can't fight back, I can't win, I can't run, I can't do anything. All I can do is yell for my mother. I can understand that. I can relate to that. Right. So, but here's what I want to say, because I'm not going to spend all morning on this. This is not why I'm here this morning, but I would be remiss. In fact, I think I would be a straight up coward if I came on here this morning and did not mention Tyre Nichols. And I want to say that again. I want to say it for any podcaster that's out there, any live streamer that's out there that may check me out from time to time. If you have your platform and you, for whatever reason, couldn't fit in 5 minutes to talk about this brother, you're probably punking out. You're probably a coward. You're probably afraid that you're going to lose business. Yeah, I'm calling you out this morning. Right? You're probably afraid that the client might hear what you say and you might lose some business. So therefore, let me not even go there. Let me stay with my topic. See, I don't worry about that kind of stuff. Y'all know me. I never did. And I ain't going to start now. So here's where I want to go with this. See, I wrote a post this morning. Matter of fact, let's go back. I wrote a post yesterday. And man, them racist POS people came on my thread and put all, I mean, I was speaking all day, so I couldn't monitor my Facebook platform. So when I got to lunch, I went on, I'm like, man, all this POS. I know some of y'all saying, what's that stand for? Look it up. It's right on, just Google it, right? And just, it was unbelievable. I never seen anything like that on my threads. So I couldn't even, so I was blocking and deleting, but then they kept coming. I said, I can't spend my day blocking and deleting. So I just took the post down. So then this morning I got up. I said, let me write again. They ain't gonna stop me. They just temporarily halted me for a second. So, but I looked at it through a different lens. I want y'all to hear me. I want you to hear me well. I want to talk about something that a lot of us ain't talking about, right? In this context, I'm looking at 5 black men. I can't say 5 brothers. I'm gonna be very specific here. I'm looking at 5 black men. I see you, Judy, out there. I'm glad you're here. I'm looking at 5 black men. And I'm looking at 5 black men beat the hell out of a black man. I want you to hear me again. I'm looking at 5 black men beat the hell out of another black man. And I'm an educator. So I everything I do in life, I'm looking at it through the lens of an educator. That's all I know. I can't look at this thing like I was on this political show on last Monday for King Day, right? And it's, they deal with a lot of politics and stuff. And I sat there and like all the people on the panel, they, that's what they do. I don't talk politics. That's just not my thing. I think politics, but I don't talk politics. So I'm sitting on this radio program, but it was live stream, and they talking politics. And I sat there and I'm like, I'm out of my lane, man. I'm out my lane. They asking me certain questions and I can't answer them like the others on the panel because I'm not in my lane. Y'all hear me? See, when I'm talking education, I'm in my lane. I own this lane. So see, I'm looking at Tyre Nichols and I'm thinking education. And I said, man, and I'm thinking critical race theory, this thing that got America in this uproar, this hysteria. I'm thinking about the governor in Florida banning curriculums because they speak to African Americans in terms of an understanding of the African American experience. Because see, he picked this one part out. It was real slick how he did it. And let me say to the folks on here, I'm getting to my topic, but I can't right now. Just roll with me. So he took this one part that deals with LGBTQ. It's 120 topics in that AP curriculum. The College Board convened a bunch of heavyweight scholars. Greg Carr from Howard is one of them. Jarvis Givens from Harvard that wrote this book. Jarvis Givens that wrote Fugitive Pedagogy. Carter G. Woodson in the Art of Black Teaching. He's one of the framers of that AP curriculum. So now, this governor in Florida, he puts this emphasis on this one topic out of 120, this called Black Queer Studies, and gave the impression that that's what the whole thing is about. But let me say this to you. Black, gay, and lesbians, that's part of our existence too. If it's black, if it happened in black skin, it's part of the black reality. You can't pick and choose that one that's consistent with your values and then say, we'll just focus on that. Some people don't mesh with the whole LGBT community and what that entails. Okay, fine. But it's still part of the experience. It's still part of the journey. It's still part of the history. You can't say, I'm going to be down with this part. Oh, I like the Black Panthers, so I want to focus there. I ain't in the civil rights. I'm in the Black Power. I'm not into nonviolence. I'm into revolution. Hold up. That's flawed. Because the whole totality is the story. So if you're going to learn the story, you got to learn all the story. So this slick governor, he took that one point because he knew that it would get a reaction from many. And as I went on various different threads, because, I do my research, man. I do my homework. So then you find Black folks who are like, oh, I see now. Yeah, no wonder. And like in other words, siding with that nonsense. If it happened amongst people of Black skin, it is part of the story. Period. Whether you like it or not. So let me get back to where I was now. We talking about Tyre Nichols. So I'm looking at it through the lens of an educator. I'm watching that damn video when I'm on the plane last night. And then when I got home. And then this morning. And I said, man, it reminded me of the overseer. See, the overseer was Black often. It reminded me of the overseer beating the hell out of the slave to break them. And in some cases, to kill them. I saw that. That's the imagery that I saw. I saw the overseer beating down a Black man. In that case, historically, a runaway slave, a undisciplined slave, whatever it was. I saw it, man. I saw the origins of the police in America in 1850 with the Fugitive Slave Act. For those that don't know the history, police came onto the scene as slave catchers. That's been the relationship forever in this country. So I'm saying to you, I'm watching that thing, man, and I get to thinking. I say, when one, and I know y'all didn't come on here for this, but I appreciate you for staying on here. When one has this mindset, I'm getting ready to go somewhere now. When one has this mindset that in one's psyche, when they look into their mirror and they see Nigger or Niggaz or Nigga, however you want to spell it, and you see that in your mirror, that means if you see that, the N-word, the infamous N-word in your mirror, that means when you see your Black brother, you see the same thing in him that you see in you. I know y'all ain't come on here for this. You see the same thing in him that you see in you. So if you see an N-word, thank you, Judy, thank you, Arnold. If you see an N-word in your mirror, you ain't nothing but a E-R-A or A-Z or A-S, then it's only natural that you're going to see your brother, your Black brother, the same bloody way. Y'all don't hear me. So now when I see that Black brother, it ain't difficult to beat his ass down. It's not difficult because he ain't nothing and neither am I. See, that's how that works. But imagine in school that the powers that be allowed Black people, white people, Latino people, Asian people, all people to learn the history of Black people in its truest form. Honesty, truth, and authenticity. Just imagine that. Imagine them 5 dudes. I can't even call them Black men. Them 5 cats. Imagine they, because I can't make the assumption that they know who that was in their mirror. I would be baffled if I could sit down with them and they could break down the history of Black people in America. Because see, when you know that history, man, that thing changes you, man. See, I know my history. I can't see no Black woman as no bitch. I can't. Because I know my history. So when I see her, I see a queen. And I treat her as such. A lot of times, because of just the dynamics of our struggle in America, women don't want to talk, don't want to like make eye contact with a man when we pass each other. I get it. Because so many of them been abused by us. So it's like, if I make contact with her, he gonna come on to me, gonna be talking all this yin yang. So now I got to deal with that. So let me just pretend he's not there. I get it. I understand it. I could bring my wife down here right now and she could tell you what it was like to be in her 20s in Black skin as a woman, dealing with Black men. It's just a daily struggle. I remember them days when I got older, she told me, I ain't tell you half the stuff. It's what it is, man. Security guards at the buildings, all that kind of stuff, man. So I'm saying here, just imagine that, oh man, my wife said, even now we got to have a conversation. Just imagine that we went hard and taught the children who they are. Taught the children their history, man. But see, the powers that be, they understand that, man. Yo, don't get you. Look, you single out certain ones and give them millions. Especially the ones that ain't saying nothing. Single them out. Get them millions. Give them a mic when things go wrong in society and let them be the spokesperson because they ain't got no knowledge. So let them be the spokesperson and then reward them. Give them money. Make them a role model. Make them a source of envy. But see, the powers that be, they understand. When that common one, like I'm just a common dude. That's all I am. When that common one is sitting in that class, just that ordinary young man, ain't nothing celebrity about him, nothing. Young woman, ain't nothing celebrity about her, nothing. Get him them resources, right? Introduce them to the history. Oh, man. Game over. Because now the young man is going to wake up. The young woman going to wake up like, whoa, pump the brakes. What? And as Goli Muhammad always says, I don't just mean the oppression. She always distinguishes the oppression from the joy. And so here we talk about how Black people were able to build and create despite the oppression, despite the most brutal oppression known to man. Don't let nobody fool you. I have difficulty when I'm on them cruise ships in that Atlantic Ocean because I know what's on that ocean floor. Just skeleton after skeleton. Some estimates up to 100 million. I know what's on that ocean floor. When I'm in the Caribbean vacation, it's hard to sit there and be free mind because I know what's out there. But imagine we teach the children. See, we expose the children to the story. then it'd be hard to roll up on a young man in Memphis, Tennessee, and beat the hell out of him and ultimately murder him. It would be very difficult because you can't look at him when you know the story. Because the history's in your soul, but you don't know it. Now you got to know, you got to make it tangible. And when you know that story, man, you can't look at no black person with no venom. You can't look at no black person and want to kill him. You can't look at no black person and want to hurt him. When you look at that black person, some of y'all out here, you know this because you see me posted. When I look at a black man on the street, I just want him to say hello. He gonna walk past me like I don't exist. I see you, DeLacy. You know what I'm talking about. You gonna just walk past me. You see me, you gonna look this way. I'm gonna make you speak. Because that's what we supposed to do. See, but when we have been robbed of that history, robbed of that culture, then we don't know who we are. You don't realize that culturally, when you see your brother, you're supposed to give him a head nod. When you see your brother, look at him. Because you don't have to say hi, you don't have to say what's up, because just the eye contact says, let me give you the communication. Let me drop the secrets to those of you not in the community. The eye contact is saying, I got you, brother. That's what it's saying. And for the sisters, the same thing. When the sister can get past the BS and now we just look at each other in the eye, it's saying, I got you, sister. It means in that moment, y'all got each other's back in this war. Like Darlene said, I see you. I see a few of y'all said that. I see you. That's all it means. We ain't got to have no conversation. We ain't got to exchange phone numbers. We ain't got to exchange social media accounts. It's just in that split second, that moment. I see you. I got you. Something go down, I'm here. That's all. But we've been robbed, y'all. And now someone who took an oath to serve and protect can roll up on an innocent man, make up lies about what he did, and beat him up, and then take a cigarette break. Are you kidding me? Administer no help. Firemen come, no help. Just that black body laying there. That thing took me back to enslavement, man. I saw an overseer. I saw a devaluation of black life. Later for him. He ain't nothing but an N-word anyway. That's the mindset. Later for that N-word. When I'm bragging, I was throwing haymakers at him. I got tired. Oh, man. But see, when you don't know that story, man, when you don't know who you are, when you don't know your history, and I ain't blaming nobody for not knowing it, because you went to a school and they made a decision not to teach it to you. I graduated from high school in 5 years, not 4. I'm transparent, y'all. I graduated in 5 years. My grade point average was 1.5. I went to 4 different high schools. My mother trying to save me. She on here now. I went to 4 different high schools. Then after them 4 years, after them 5 years, for the next 5 years, I ain't do nothing. Enrolled in Middlesex County College in New Jersey and ain't do nothing. Just enrolled, wasting my mother's money sitting in the student center. But then after them 10 years, the two combined were up. Something drew me to God said, you need to read something. Let me give you something. Man, that thing changed me, man. It changed me so drastically, I changed my name. I wasn't born no Baruti Kafele. I said, I need a name that represents who and what I am. And I need a name that represents where I'm going. Because that history, it churned in my soul, man. It introduced me to a warrior within. That's where you got to be. A teacher watching right now, a leader watching right now. if your children are not being exposed to who they are, interdisciplinary, math, science, social studies, language arts, PE and health, foreign language, CTE, you name it, you doing them a disservice because it's happening under your watch. You can't talk big, but they got a gaping hole in your curriculum called African American Studies. Your kids not being exposed to who they are. The math can't make sense. The science can't make sense. The social studies can't make sense. The language arts can't make sense if they're not in it. They got to be in it. And if they're in it, then they can identify with it. They can relate to it. It makes sense to them. But if they ain't in it, then what's this got to do with me? It's not relatable. It's not identifiable. I can't use it. Hey, teacher. Hey, leader, do you know what's on my plate when I leave out of here every day? Do you know what I contend with? And you want me to be excited about the War of 1812? Are you kidding me? What's that got to do with my life? See, you got to make sure that you read the room, that you do the audience analysis, and that that youngster is being considered. And then you take that learning, you take that instruction, and it's geared toward that youngster. We can, there's all sorts of systems as to why those officers acted that way. Don't get me wrong. I understand that. But on the flip side, I wonder what they knew about themselves. I wonder that. Because to me, it's just not conceivable that you could know who you are in your mirror and still chase a black man down and beat him down like a damn dog. I don't understand that. I can't relate to that. But I'm going to close it this way. I'm talking because I know it's people that watch this broadcast who don't reveal themselves. I know that. I don't mind that. But I'm talking about some of these podcasters. If you a podcaster, you a live streamer, you got some kind of platform where you talk about whatever, and you punk out to talking about Tyre Nichols, of saying his name, of lifting that young man, then let me tell you something. Let me look in my camera. You and I ain't on the same team, right? Don't call yourself down with Kafele, but you scared that you're going to lose business. You scared the client won't call you. Then that means you're not authentic. You fake the funk. You put on a good show. But now when something goes down and you got that platform where people tune in to watch you and you ain't saying nothing, then you ain't in my struggle. You ain't in my fight. You ain't down with me, and I ain't down with you. Know that. I might even unfriend you. I expect if you an educator and you got one of these platforms, then I expect you to open your damn mouth and say something more than just your topic so that you can get booked. Have the spine, have the audacity to speak truth to power. If you ain't got that, I can't use you. I go on your page and you posting food and all that stuff, man. But right now, post your food, post your meal if you got to. But somewhere in there, I want to see that you conscious. Somewhere in there, I want to see that you are affected. Now, I'm not looking for the average Joe that, the person is just, going through life to be, I ain't talking to them. I'm talking about the one with a platform. That's what I'm talking about. You got a platform? You got people following you? You got people holding on to your words? and you don't see fit to talk about this because you scared the client won't call you to come and speak at their engagement, then unfriend me right now, buddy. Block me. Cut me off, because you and I are not fighting the same fight. If you all about money, because I see y'all out there, I don't say nothing. But when I see you posting about money, making millionaire, all that stuff, you ain't fighting my fight, buddy. You ain't fighting my fight. You fighting some other fight, and you and I don't have to be down with each other. We ain't got to be down, right? So enough there. I know my guests probably like, damn, this was the wrong day, right? It's probably the wrong day, right? So let's go, y'all. I had to get that off, man. That's like my mental therapy. Y'all let me vent today. I gotta vent. Right now, don't leave me, because I know y'all were sharing and carrying on for that, but I want you to stay here for this, right? So I got a guess, man. I worked up a sweat, y'all. Forget the hat, man. Forget this. I got a guest in the building, and I'm excited about her being here. So let me bring her up here. I got the boss educator in the building. I got the boss, man. I got to change my background now. I'm so unorganized now. There we go. We got Dr. LaQuanta Nelson out there in Mississippi in the building. Hey, Doc, I know you. I told you 5 minutes I was going to go on my.
Listen, I am a student. So I already knew Principal Kafele. I knew what was about to happen before I logged on this morning. I anticipated it. I expected it. We all needed it. So thank you so very much. So let me add before we jump in, because this is the right time. This is the right day. It happened the way that it was supposed to. Let me tell you, where I come from and my experience and my purpose right now fits right into what you were saying. And it's all about personal discovery and personal development. If you don't know who you are, how can I stand and lead? How can I inspire? How can I do what I need to do in a way that I'm making positive impact? It won't happen. It will not happen. So it's leading right into what you said. And, I'm a mom. So, that was the first thing when we joined this morning. My heart bleeds. I have a Black male king that I am doing my diligence, right? But society is on a mission as well. I hear when this happened the other day, in my head, you hear Fannie Lou Hamer, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, right? But we've got to be intentional. These are my thoughts on this. We've got to be intentional and not allowing those feelings to lead us to that self-helplessness, like I can't do anything. Because when we get to that place, we lose hope. Yeah. When we lose hope, we can't see, Kafele. What happens when we can't see? We lose vision. We lose vision. And we know facts that where there is no vision, ... So I think it was all a part of the master plan. Today was the day that I was supposed to be here.
I appreciate you, man. And yes, you just said something. Hey, y'all, hit that share button, hit that retweet button, man. We getting ready to get into a serious discussion here. You said, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Fannie Lou Hamer, who coined that, I'm sure you know, her grave site in the Delta is in a park. And I go there all the time. Anytime I'm speaking in Mississippi, I could be miles away. And I make that drive and stand in that park right by her grave site. Mm-hmm. And then I make the drive to Money, Mississippi, where Emmett Till had gone into Bryant's grocery. That structure, a lot of people don't realize the store is not there, but the frame is still there. It's eroded. No walls, no ceiling, but it's the evidence that it existed is still there. So I go there. I did a Facebook Live video in front of it, risked my life because they shoot up the sign by the Tallahatchie around the way. And but I had to make that live video that time. So when you said that, it just made me think about about that in the great works of Sister Fannie Lou Hamer. Let me tell the people who you are, man. Hey, y'all, we got the boss educator in the building, and you know I don't do anything without reading the bio. Boss, what does it stand for? Bold, optimistic, spontaneous, substantial. Dr. LaQuanta M. Nelson has served in education as a teacher, assistant principal, principal, mentor, district level, new teacher, coordinator, motivational speaker, and consultant over the last 20 years. She currently serves as the CEO of the Boss Educator brand, where she continues in empowering scholars and all educators on their journey to become bold, optimistic, spontaneous, and substantial. Over the years, Dr. Nelson's background and experience in leadership has yielded her to transform underperforming schools in her state, support culture transformations in schools across the United States, and help curate thriving cultures in organizations across multiple spectrums of business. Nelson has found a true passion in working to help transform cultures and climates through the application of positive leadership. She believes that through positive social, emotional relationships, everyone has the capability of operating in their unique greatness and ultimate success. She focuses her work on strong teamwork amongst adults that will directly influence and reflect an increase in student achievement in schools and bottom lines in business. Dr. Nelson's work is centered on equity and excellence for all through inclusive cultures. As the product of a single mother living in poverty, Dr. Nelson completely understands the dire importance of the work that must be done in schools that directly support children from underserved backgrounds and that of Black and Brown students. Dr. Nelson has presented and keynoted at conferences and events throughout the state, regional, and national level. She served on boards such as Mississippi Department of Education Principals Advisory Group, MDE Middle School Task Force, Mississippi Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation, former executive director of the Mississippi Association of Middle Level Education. She also previously served on the, let me try this one out, Pascagoula. I messed that one up.
You know all that stuff. It doesn't matter.
River Audubon Center Advisory Committee. Dr. Nelson has served in higher ed as a support to Jackson State University's Department of Education in their implementation of U.S. Prep. She is now a highly sought after speaker, coach, and trainer, spreading love and light across the world. Woo! That's a lot. Hey, y'all, hit that share button, hit that retweet button. I want to talk about, let me tell you what I'm going to talk about. This platform was created because I felt that the AP, I still feel that the assistant principal is the most misunderstood and underutilized position in all of education. I believe that with every fiber of my being. So we created this to reimagine, if you will, the assistant principalship, as opposed to that person, and particularly in urban and rural schools, being a full-time disciplinarian. And I meet a lot of them, and then sprinkled with lunch duty and bus duty, right? And other things that are non-academic. So that's what this is. But those same folks, hear me well, somebody, those same folks do transition into the principalship. But that transition in so many cases is not smooth, because now it's starting over, because I didn't know budget. I didn't know my impact on culture. I didn't know equity. I didn't know instructional leadership. I didn't know this. I didn't know that. I didn't know school branding. I didn't know school mission. I didn't know school vision. And I can go on and on. So now I wanted to put together a session today where we talk about what that transition might look like. So if you're a principal now, you still need to hear this, because I'm assuming you have at least one AP. Of course, smaller schools would not. But you want to make sure that AP is being thoroughly prepared to do what you do one day. So it's relevant. Someone wrote on my thread the other day, they said, it's relevant. Your platform's relevant for everybody except maybe the superintendent. And I said to that person, that AP is under that superintendent's watch. This platform is relevant for the superintendent of schools too. And I might add the commissioner of education and the U.S. Secretary of Education. It's relevant for anybody. So with that said, let's jump into it, Doc. As an educator, let's do what we do with all my guests. Who is Dr. LaQuanta N. Nelson?
So, simply put, I am a country girl who is in love with being able to empower, inspire, and uplift those around me. I will say that, my greatest accomplishments has been from the standpoint of being a teacher, right? So even though I've transitioned to these various positions, I still see myself as a teacher who is consistently in the space and in the mind frame of teaching and learning, right? So just a little country girl, come from a impoverished community, single mom, didn't graduate from high school, but as you mentioned, in my short bio, that it's one of the reasons that I am the person that I am today, that I go so hard, if you will,
Yeah.
for the LaQuantas of the world, the little Black girls that could possibly be perceived as unmotivated, the one that can be perceived as having a bad attitude, or the one that could be perceived as, just checked out. Now, although that was not my story, it was the story of so many around me, right? So, my purpose in life is to make sure that I'm supporting those students, supporting those educators and those leaders to see beyond the LaQuanta's current face to see her amazing future that's in front of her. So
I
that's just a
love
little bit about me.
I love it. So why, thinking about, here you are, you've got the doctorate, you're doing big things, you did big things in the school. Why education? You could have gone in any direction. Why, what brought you to education?
Can I tell you, I was one of those people that the counselor did like, and I can say this because we're talking about equity and social justice and inclusion. Even in the high school that I was in, there were people that there was a liking to certain Black children. There was a liking to certain ones of us, right? The ones that were academically inclined already. We would call them in and say, what are you doing next after school? The others, not so much, right? So I was one of the ones that was called in and say, hey, what are you going to do? You probably should not go into education because you're smarter than that. Right? So I was one of those folks that was pulled in and told, no, do something different. And so many times on my journey, I think back to those moments where I didn't realize that I was a privileged one out of the underprivileged, right? Even out of that, there are levels to it. Can I tell you there are levels to it? Yeah. There are levels to it. So even in the midst of that, I did not realize it at the time. But the older I get, the more it drives me. All of the LaQuantas can be great. Yeah. Every single one of them, right? So what are we doing in our schools to see that? And you mentioned something earlier about I see you. My zone of genius is in the area of culture and climate. Let's be honest. How many times do we really see the people that are in our buildings? You see the students? Do you see the teachers? Do you see the administrators? Do you see the bus drivers? Do you see your custodians? Are we really there, right? So what drives me is knowing that had I not had a Kafele, right, a Angela Jones, a Kent Walker, those people that were adamant in seeing me, you would not be addressing me as a Dr. Nelson. You would not. You would still be calling me Quana, because that was my nickname growing up, right? So I say that all the time, and I mean it. You would not be looking at me in through the eyes and through the lens had I not had those people. And it's my mission in life. It is my duty to fulfill, to be able to create spaces for other Dr. Nelsons to exist.
Your duty to create spaces for other Dr. Nelsons to exist. I love it. So then you went on and became a principal. And as you know better than anyone, that's not an easy position. No, that's a challenge. And you got to be built for it. What made you feel that you could be impactful at that level, at that principal level, and therefore drove you to go to the level of the principalship?
If I can be honest, if I can be transparent, I did not see myself as, when I left the classroom, it was not my goal to go into an administrative position. I wanted to stay in the classroom for 20, 25 years and then go run professional development for the district. Never did I ever say in life, I want to be the principal. I want to be the assistant principal. But through my work, when people just see you for who you are and you naturally show up as yourself, right? People often can see things in you that you can't see in yourself. And so, my principal at the time, he was watching. People are watching. Let me say this, let me lean in. People are watching. They may not say a word, right? They may not affirm, they may not give you feedback, but they are watching. So he had been watching, and they had given me leadership roles at the teacher level, but a position came open for the AP spot. He came, he knocked on the door, he said, "You are it." And I said, "No, not I." The little book, "Not I," said the cat. "Not I, not I. No, I'm not." He said, "Oh, yes, you are exactly what we need at this time on our leadership team to move our school forward." And, I was so grateful for that. Walking into it, I was like, "Oh my God, what is this?" But it didn't take but a few days for me to realize my purpose then. And again, now is to, since day one, I was able to see past the difficult, because that quote of people who need love the most show it in the most unloving ways. That's real.
Yeah.
That's real for students. That's real for teachers. And sometimes we don't always look at the SEL aspect and, of the adults in the building the same way. But when I shifted from teacher to student, I saw very quickly that, people don't run their classrooms the same way that I was, right? I was taken aback with that. But I will say this, and this is so important from a leadership standpoint. Part of my platform is being optimistic, the power of the positive. I can't step into a space as a negative Nicole naturally and immediately become a positive principal. Let me say it one more time, and I'm gonna slow down because I'm a fast talker. I get excited and I'll just go to road running, right?
Yeah.
I cannot show up in my natural self as negative Nicole and walk through that school door and immediately transform myself into positive principal. It's not happening.
That's right.
And so a lot of times in our schools, much like the conversation before, people are showing up themselves. And we want them to immediately operate as something totally different. Not going to happen. Or we can fake the funk only for a little while.
Yeah.
We can fake the funk just for a little while, and then before you know it, I'm seeing the real you. And so instead of showing up as a fake version because it's going to wear out, work on you, right? Yeah. Work on your individual authentic self so that you can show up the best version of you. Not just I'm this way. Because, there's something else right now that in 2023, if we're going to be honest and transparent, teachers will say, administrators, I'm just like that. Y'all know how I am.
Yep.
But how you are, how you be, as Ayanla would say, is that what's best for students? Are students better for you being the way you be? All right. Or are they going backwards, right? Are they ending up in places that we know that they shouldn't be? Because again, all LaQuantas, right, can be their best selves if we would see them that way. So that's just,
Yeah. And see, when you reference faking the funk, see, and that's it's called the Pinocchio theory. So like you said, you could fake the funk but so long. Pinocchio theory, because your nose gonna grow and people gonna see that. And they're gonna know, they're gonna know what's going on, right? So we got to be authentic with it. Let's jump.
I will say this too, imposter syndrome is real. So we're talking about this AP to principal transition, or teacher even to AP transition. Imposter syndrome is real in education. It's real in leadership. And so many times, even for me, right? You are a mentor, you're a guide, you are the GOAT. But you are Kafele, and nobody can get on here and say the fire like you do, right? Nobody can do that because you are you. How do we leverage our authentic selves? How do I figure out what's unique to me, what's true to me, and work on that being the best, right? To leverage impact in my position. So I just have to throw that in there too. Because
I love it. I love it. Let's before we get into that whole AP to principal transition, let's talk a little bit about the boss educator. Yes. Right? You are the boss educator, and boss, again, for those who checked in later, stands for bold, optimistic, spontaneous, substantial. So essentially you're asking, you're encouraging, challenging all of us to be the bold educator.
There you
right?
go.
To be bold, to be optimistic, to be spontaneous, to be substantial. So let's break that down.
Yes.
When you say boss, but in this case, when you say bold, what are you telling this audience of leaders with that word bold? What are you saying to us?
So let me say this as a Black female leader, there are some biases, there are some misconceptions, and there are some projections that we run into, if I can be honest with you.
Yes.
When we say bold and you think Black lady in leadership, because I can have this transparent conversation here with you, right? We think angry, we think mad, we think loud. Bold is none of those things, right? Bold is about advocating. Bold is about, again, showing up as your authentic self. It's about seeing needs and fulfilling needs, right? So it's about advocacy. As a leader, depending on where you sit, you see different things. In the APC, you're going to see some different things that at the very moment the principal may see, just by nature of the job, right? Same thing, teacher to AP. How dare me see something and not say something? What was that, 9/11? See something, say something?
Yeah.
How we do that? We see that there are better solutions, or that there's a aspect to our systems that are flawed, and we say nothing. We just sit back. Well, it ain't my job.
Yeah.
Or we say it's not in my power to do anything, which goes back to that helplessness sometimes. But if you are going to make your greatest impact, you better open your mouth and say something. And that does not mean loud. It's about solutions, right? When you see something, come to the table with some possible solutions. They might not, you might fail on your face with those. They may not work. But to see that there's a problem, to see that there's a need and do nothing, shame on you.
Yeah.
Shame on you. You're perpetuating the foolishness that's in society.
Yeah. How about optimistic? What are you saying to us?
Too many times we either think that the glass is half empty or half full. I am of the standpoint that it's neither, right? It's refillable. It is absolutely refillable. And it's in my power to do the pouring, to do the filling, right? And so in our schools, especially in our underperforming, poverty-stricken schools, it's heavy. It's heavy. And you are all over the place. We've not had this conversation, but I know this is true. There are some buildings and some school districts that you walk in and it's so heavy, it slows your walk down. Because buildings and systems have vibes, all right? Culture, they have a feeling. You can't get the work done if you're going in defeated before you walk in.
Yeah.
And so that being optimistic is understanding that self-efficacy piece, right? There's so much research behind that. Do you feel like you have the power to create change? Do you feel like it's within your being to create positive differences for the students that are in that space? So being optimistic, a lot of times they get that, oh, you just see in the rainbows and the unicorns. No, I see reality. I see that John just walked 2 miles to school out of an abandoned building, and clearly he has not taken a bath and he is hungry. No, I cannot ignore that. I cannot. I see that. I feel that. And as an educator, my heart hurts. But through that hurt, how do I change the pain to purpose? What am I doing for him? How am I helping him to see that there is hope? And that hope can come through education if we would apply what we know and what we can do for those students. So that's the optimistic. Research also shows, because this is one of those you will hear. I've heard it my whole career. You're not a negative Nancy that's in the hallway down from you. I'm gonna lean in. She 2 doors down. Or she in the next building. Sometimes they will say, I've been like this my whole life. This just, y'all always happy-go-lucky, right? No, research is clear, because part of my background is in psychology. The research is clear that we can change the way we think. Is it easily done? No. But we can change the way we think. And so when we shift our brains from being negatively charged to positively charged, the research shows that we can become 31%. Write it down somewhere. Taking notes for those. It's class. Class is in session, right? We can become 31% more creative, more productive, more impactful. So right now, if we would just think about that, what does 31% more creative look like for me? How would that transcend itself into my student performance or that culturally relevant piece? Because y'all, our babies are checked out. They are checked out, and we just driving like we don't realize that they done got off the bus 2 stops back. They not with you. They are not with you, right? So that even it lends itself to that as well.
Wow. I'm just pointing at my guy, Brian Dinkins here, Dr. Dinkins.
Yes.
So, let's stay there for a minute.
Gotcha.
I'm thinking about that leader that doesn't bring that optimism, right? That leader that walks in that school and, well, I hope we do better than last year. I hope we could get 5 extra percentage points on a state standardized assessment, but doesn't walk in there and feels like there's so much power in these 3 words. I got this. Without being egotistical, though, just I got this, right? So everything you just said just so resonated with me. That and I never heard that filling up the cup, regardless of it's half full or half empty, right? I'm gonna borrow that from you.
Go right ahead. We friends. You go right ahead.
That's great stuff. That's great stuff. Let me. I was getting ready to throw a question at you, but I'm looking at my agenda in front of me. I got a long way to go. Let me go to the next word. Spontaneous. What are you telling us?
We have to be data-driven practitioners, right? You have you have tried to do that thing, whatever that thing is in your school, be it, working on your bottom 25% of students' performance or student attendance or, math scores, whatever. And you keep doing the same exact thing day after day, week after week, month after month, and you expect different results. How the code, the new codes, how sway? How so? Why would you get different results if you were doing the same thing? If nothing changes, nothing changes.
Yeah.
And so part of being this boss is understanding that even if me trying something different, it may flop. I love watching HGTV, right? The old school flip or flops, I just love those. That's random, but it may be a flip or a flop. But with the flops, I'm learning. Because my next flip, I promise you, I will not make that same result. I'm going to get return on I'm going to get a return on that investment the next time that it happens, right? Yeah. So understanding that failure is a part of the process. Failure is a part of the process, but how do I fail in a way that I'm progressing? That whole fall forward. Either way you want. How am I moving forward even in that? So that's where the spontaneous comes from. And the research, again, I'm a background psychology. The research shows that our brains respond to novelty. So even in the classroom, right? Because I know we're talking about AP to principal, but just across all spectrums, our brains respond to novelty. You just got to switch it up every now and then, Kafele. That's the best way I can put it. Yeah. The brain responds, create those new pathways for learning.
Yeah.
Right? Even with your discipline. If you keep saying, all right, I had 56 referrals this month, they're coming from the same 3 kids, because that happens. But what if you tried different? What's the different approach? What's the different strategy? What's the different affirmation? What's the different accountability? Again, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So that's what the spontaneous is all about.
Yeah, good stuff. And let's go to that last one, substantial.
So this is sobering because we started sober. I'm glad you didn't have me on because I had to wipe my face before we came on, but it's sobering. Folks, we are going to die. And I will say this in our Black culture, and I can speak for my family, right? I'm speaking for, we don't like to talk about death. We don't, right? But sure. We've all got that dash. Yeah. You got that birth date and you got that end date. We're doing that. What are you doing in a way that your love will outlive your life? What am I doing in such a way that 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years from now, your name will be spoken as inspiration? What are you doing that you're changing right now? But even more so, you're changing generations. My child lives a completely different life than what I did growing up. So sometimes, we like to plant the seeds and we want to see the apple the same day. It's not going to happen. Every now and then you might see the little sprig come up and you're alive to see that little come out the dirt. It doesn't always happen that way. So what am I doing that I possibly can see the sprig, but I know later on they're going to be the apples? Because again, right now, just me growing up 10 and my child being 10 looks totally different. And I got to tell you, that happened through the lens of some powerful educators being able to see me beyond just the statistics. Because even now, if we're honest, talking black on black, we do the same thing, right? We in schools, we will look at Ayana and say, I'm sick of her. Y'all go do something with her, right? But how do we operate in such a way that I can see beyond that? I can see that that's a baby in pain. How do I push her to purpose? How do I do that?
Yeah. You said something, and I talk about this all the time. Let me stay here for a second. The question, I think, as a matter of fact, I either said this last week or I wrote about it in my commentary. I don't remember which one it was, but I always ask the question matter of fact, I said it on my last broadcast last week. When the history books are written 10 years from now, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, whatever number of years from now, I always ask educators, what will they say about you when the education history books are written? There ain't too many of them, but still, just for the sake of discussion. And I'm not asking you this question. I'm asking the audience to consider it. What will be written about you? Meaning, what legacy will be left behind? Now, someone wrote me on Facebook yesterday and said something that blew me away. I used to be the principal of a school here in Jersey in 2002, 2003 school year. I always had quotes that I wrote all over the building. I left, but I didn't take the quotes down, and they were literally all over the building. About 10 years later, I was told that the quotes were still up. And I said, you can't be serious. They've been through like 2 principals. Those quotes are still on those hallway walls. Yesterday, this woman wrote me who works in that building and said, your quotes are still on the walls. I said, that's 20 years ago. You can't be serious. She said, they're there. So, there's a lot of ways to look at that, but I'm going to look at it the way you just said. That's part of my legacy. Somebody's seeing fit to leave them quotes on them walls.
That's right.
So now them kids are seeing things I wrote 20 years ago who will probably never meet me in life, maybe one of them somewhere along the way. But for the most part, I won't know those kids because they're not part of my life here in North Jersey. So I ask everybody watching, what will be your legacy? Even as an AP, what is it that you're going to leave that everybody's still benefiting from? Not just talking about you, but everybody's still benefiting from as a result of you working in that space for the duration of time that you worked in that space. That matters. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Let's talk about that transition. As I was telling you off camera, Doc, there's a lot of things that we could look at. I had identified like 20 different areas, and I just wanted to get your thoughts. Maybe we'll converse on some of them, but I wanted to get your thoughts in terms of that AP being able to make that transition to the principalship where I'm conversing in some of these areas. But the principals who are watching, if you have at least one AP, then you need to be thinking about these same things. Or if you're a principal and you were an AP and you were not well-rounded as an AP, you were not exposed to much as an AP, and now here you are a principal, you need to hear this too, right? So let's start off. The first thing that I thought of when I wrote this list was the school brand identity. School brand identity. And I think about the difference between brand identity and brand image. Brand identity is this brand that we're creating that we see ourselves as. But brand image is the way that the outside world is perceiving this thing. And we are never quite the identity that we create. We're always the identity that people see us as being.
Absolutely.
So my question to you, Doc, is this: what might an AP be thinking about, strategizing over right now, even though they're not a principal, as it relates to one day being a principal, as it relates to the identity, the brand identity of the school they may lead one day?
You just know that there is often a gap, a wide disparity, if you will, between here and there, hither and yon, as we would say in the country, right?
Yeah,
So the first thing I got to be really aware is what is the current brand perception?
yeah.
What is that? Because sometimes listen, I got my mirror ready, mine
Yeah.
looks a little different than yours.
Oh,
Hey,
you got that. You got the nice
yeah,
joint.
double sided, get you one, right? But it's very, very, very important that what is the reality of what is being said? What do people feel? Because if you are not aware of that, you could be doing work and putting forth effort in areas that will not lend itself to show favorable terms for you, right? So I would say you need to get you some data on what public perception. What do
Yeah,
people really think about you, right? And I will say this: it's part of that turnaround bad cycle that a lot of underperforming school districts get in, right? It's a bad public perception, so then nobody wants to work there. Nobody wants to work there, so you're left with subs and unqualified people. Then the data does not move because the not right people are not in front. Then you go back to this: oh, the school scores come out. Nobody wants to work there. Like it's a never-ending cycle that honestly, that's one of the places that if you grab it there, you could possibly change the trajectory of the current situation, right? So knowing exactly what people think, what people feel, and being strong enough, though that bold is all about being courageous too. Leadership is not for the faint at heart. It's just not. You got to be strong enough to ask people their truth and to sit there and listen to it.
yeah.
And that's something that we struggle with, not just as educators, but that personal development. We struggle with that. We'll say, the proverbial, oh, how do I look tonight in my dress? It's 3 sizes too small. You already know it is. But you put it on, then you want to ask your friend girl what she think, and then you're mad when she says wrong size, right? So when we're asking for that feedback on the current reality of where we are as a school and with our brand, we've also got to be strong enough and desire change enough, if you will, to listen to that intently and in purposely for the point of solution seeking.
I love it. I'm a Hilton guy. I don't, I try my best. I have nothing against, say, Marriott and some of the other large hotel brands, but I'm a Hilton guy. It's where I get all my points from, so that when I go on vacation, I don't have to pay for a room. So I'm at this Hilton. When I booked my room to be in Charlotte this week, it said Hilton. So I got there, and when I got to the hotel, it said DoubleTree. So I didn't know if I was in the right place. I didn't bring my bags, and I went inside. I said, "Is this the same hotel?" They said, "Oh yeah, we're changing over." Now here's why I bring this up. I'm a Hilton guy. I know all the Hilton brand. I know Hampton Inn. I know Embassy Suites. I know True, which I hate. I know Home 2. I know DoubleTree. I know them all. So, and meaning me when I say I know them, when I'm walking them halls, you could take me in the hotel, blindfold me walking in, and I'll tell you which one I'm in just on the brand identity, right? So when I was walking in through the halls and they were converting, they're doing construction, I could see the conversion to DoubleTree because I know the carpeting, I know the setup of the frames around the doors. I mean, I know that kind of detail of these hotels, and in the room itself, I know it. So I'm saying that to say, to stay on this school brand, as a school AP watching, principal watching, you got to conceptualize what you want that brand to be, but then you got to bring that team together, and we create this thing so that your school is so unique that it stands out amongst the other ones. It's not like your school, that school, that school, that school. They all look the same. They all are the same. The culture is, No, your school has its own personality, the brand. Hey, Doc, thinking about that word personality, right? What might you say to a principal or an AP in this regard about ensuring that that brand evolves into one day precisely what you want it to be? Because some people working on that hotel, when the inspectors come back, if it still look like Hilton as opposed to DoubleTree, although DoubleTree is Hilton, but it's its own brand, then there would be some issues there.
I think, three things come to mind. Intentionality, all right? Clarity and communication, and then accountability, right? So I think that a lot of times we assume too much. We assume so much. And it boils down to communication, right? Have we sat around the table to really look at the collective efficacy? So earlier we talked about self-efficacy. It's about what do you feel like you have the power to do? But then collective efficacy. Have we sat around the table to determine as a team, what do we believe in our collective ability to make impact? Yeah. So we're talking vision there. Yeah. So looking at the telescope and looking at the microscope, right? The telescope is long term. That's that years down the road. And then the microscope, right now, what are we doing? So starting with the vision. Yeah. Starting with that and not just assuming people know it. Let's be honest. How many people do you run into? And you are all over the place, right? You are all over how many people do you run into that really can clearly and concisely articulate their vision to you for their school?
Yeah. I don't run into too much.
Yeah, or clearly articulate their core values, the driving force behind what they do and how they do it.
So it's all the points I'm getting ready to come up with. Good stuff.
So it's very important that you start with that. And what drives that is the purpose, the why, right? So starting there and then making sure that I saw an article not too long ago. It was talking about perception because I've started working with some HR directors, right? Because can I tell you they having issues at your local McDonald's and your local Wendy's and your product different, isn't it? I know those French fries hadn't been right lately because the culture hadn't been right? So, but anyway, it's very important that people are very clear. So the article that I was reading was talking about perception of communication. Long story short, it basically said that over communicating is a greater practice than under communicating. Okay. Long story short, there's a whole bunch of jargon, but that's it. We assume that when we say something one time, speaking to visions, speaking to our goals, that when we say something one time, people get it. They understand it. That is not the case. All right. So how are you, after you get that vision, how are you going overboard consistently and intentionally to make sure that everybody in the organization is very crystal clear on our purpose and our why and where we're going, right? Yeah. I like this one. This is one of my favorite ones that I remind myself when I'm communicating. Where there is a void in communication, confusion will fill it. I'm going to say it one more time and I'm going to say it slow because I told you I talk fast. Where there is a void in communication, confusion, chaos, and whatever words you want to put, we'll feel it. Yeah. And a lot of times, be it your classroom, even with your learning goals, or be it the AP with your behavior goals, attendance goals, the principal with the whole wide, school improvement goal. People don't know what are you talking about? Yeah. You said it one time 3 months ago and assume and expect that they don't. So making sure that you are intentional in communicating and communicating in the positive. I can say that as well. That whole optimistic. If you're saying, y'all, our benchmark 2 data was we were only at 3% proficiency, Lord Jesus, there is no help for us. That's your message. What are you expecting your people to do but run for the hills? Yeah. Right. So making sure that even in the process of communicating that we are clear, that we're honest, Because sometimes we're not even honest. Like, you are not giving people the opportunity to make the necessary adjustments because you aren't even being honest with them. Speaking about that AP, you know, if you're talking about instructional leadership, you are going in the classroom and telling the teacher, good job. You said good job, and you know that you would cringe if it was your Tyler Jacob in that classroom. Why did you tell her that? Why not have that honest, crucial conversation, but have it in a way that she is empowered through it, right? A lot of times we just shy away from it. Instead of being honest, truthful, and transparent, oh, good job. Good job at what? Showing up for work today?
Yeah.
And say that, because sometimes that's what it is. I am appreciative that you are here and present, but I need you to consider, right, the rigor in your classroom. I need for you to consider student engagement. I need for you to consider cultural relevance, whatever it is. But again, you are shooting yourself in the foot if you just lying to folks. And that's no other better way to say it. Kafele, you're lying. Stop it.
Stop it. You know, before I go to this next one, I just wanted to highlight this one I just put on the screen. We worldwide, man. It's this person is watching us from Pakistan, and so many other countries check in, and that's a blessing, man. It's a blessing that folks see it not robbery from different parts of the world, including the African continent, to check into the virtual AP Leadership Academy. So good stuff, good stuff. Thank you. Tell the folks out there, tune in. We relevant all over the globe. You know, Doc, the school mission and the school vision, I'm gonna kind of bring them together as one question, although we know that they're two separate entities. You just mentioned that vision and people not knowing the vision. One of the things I do when I go into schools is ask educators, what's the vision here? What's the mission here? And in so many cases, they don't know. They say, ask the principal, you know, or I'll ask the children. So to distinguish the two, if I don't have a mission, if I'm a school leader, or if I'm just working in a school and I don't have a mission, then I'm in a school that has no foundation, right? It has no foundation to stand upon, because that mission is the foundation. If I'm in a school that has no vision, then that school is probably not going anywhere. It's certainly not going where we would want it to go, because we haven't identified what that is. So my question to you, what should an assistant principal, because we're talking about that transition to the principalship, or that principal in the building where the mission and vision are not an inherent component of the school, what should that AP be thinking about now in their AP capacity about the school they may lead one day, as it relates to a school mission, not a specific wording or anything, but just a school mission and a school vision?
So, you know, that B stands for bold. I want to challenge them to start now. Like, even in that position, what is within your locus of control, right? Because you're thinking principles. So the principal, listen, you got to be a good follower to be a good leader, right? I can't say that enough. You've got to be a good follower to be a good leader. So you got your principal, and they have this high level scope, right? But as an AP, there are some things within your locus of control.
Yeah.
You look at it, take your time, pros and what is it? Reflect, open up the mirror. What is it that's within your locus of control? And start now. It's a fine time to start practicing now. What the things that are within your locus of control? What is your vision for that?
Yeah.
Based on the data that you have, what is your vision for the things that right now you have your hands over, that you can have that positive impact? So I think, and that's one of the things that, you know, and it's okay. Be brave and bold enough to go to your principal and say, hey, you know, you've entrusted me with these tasks. What are your thoughts on me having specific goals and a specific vision for these things, right? Because you always want to make sure that you're aligned. But you can start right now. You don't have to think then right now.
Yeah.
What does that look like? If I'm over buses, butts, and books, and we know that's old school, what a lot of times what we do, but if that is right now, the scope that you've been told you got to stay in, with that, what is your vision for those three things?
Yeah.
What is your mission for those three things, right? How do you create strategic goals to get greater performance or greater efficiency in those three things?
Yeah. You know, another area that's so important. Well, let's stay with that vision for a second. Because there's somebody on this call, I don't know who it is, I just know they're out here somewhere, and they're in a school where vision doesn't exist. in their AP capacity, in their principal capacity, or some district leader that there's schools underneath that person, and there's schools that don't have a vision, that don't have a mission. So I guess I want to ask you then in that regard, what can an AP do in their current capacity if the mission and vision doesn't exist? Is it okay to, like they're on here today listening to you, getting fired up from you? Is it okay to go back to the principal and using the people skills, talk to the principal about maybe we need a mission and vision, or should they just store it and wait until they have their opportunity? What do you think?
I mentioned earlier, and I can say this, I can stand on it every Sunday. I'm on the piano stool. That's my other real ministry in life, right? I can say this in this space. Where there is no vision, the people perish. So how dare you? And I'm challenging folks, right? Because we need that. You need an accountability partner every now and then. How dare you know? You know it's a major missing link and do nothing. Might you hit a wall? You might. But guess what? Most walls, there's a window somewhere, there's a door somewhere, there's a ceiling, there's an air vent, there is a something for you to get through some way, right? So that bold. You see there is a need. See something, say something, friends. See something, say something.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I will say this, and you know this. We don't talk about this so much, but the seats, the complexity of what has to be done in these various seats has changed tremendously, right? So sometimes I'm not taking up for folks, but this is the reality. Sometimes you got so much on your plate and you're asking me to put something else on my plate, right? So sometimes when you're going to people, you need to bring it to them in a way that is palatable to them, right? So for me, that means solutions. So, if you're going to the principal, say, hey, have you thought this is a model that I've seen in a couple of places? Would you consider reviewing, right? So always come to the table with some possible solutions, knowing that, they might say, no, I don't like any of those. But when we brainstorm, we can bring our genius together, right? To create what is possible for the collective body.
That's good stuff. Doc, before we go further, because it's like 12:23 Eastern time, and we got a lot of people watching, I don't want to wait until the end for them to know how to contact you. So let them know. And I'll say this to the audience, Dr. Nelson is a consultant, is a speaker, education consultant, motivational speaker, etc. And you may want her at your school for the day, your convention, your conference, whatever it is, for the entire day, or you may want her to keynote, whatever it is. So I don't want to wait till the end and we lose people. So let them know how to get in touch with you now.
Gotcha. So the easiest thing to do is to go to my website, which is www.bosseducator.com. On social media, you can catch me at the Boss Educator on Facebook. For Twitter, it is at Dr. L.M. Nelson. And then, of course, my email, really easy, contact@bosseducator.com.
All right, so you see that. I want you all, if anybody has the league, I got a lot to go, y'all. Maybe I won't get to all of it today, but I still got a lot. And so I want to make sure that you know how to get in touch with Dr. Nelson, because I'm sure you're going to want her to come in and bless you all at your schools, at your conference, at your convention, whatever it may be, one-on-one, whatever it is. All right, let's go. School culture. That's a big one, Doc. And I think a lot of us get that one wrong.
Yes,
Lord. A lot of times, we talk about classroom management, discipline, all that kind of stuff. And I always say that the culture, I used to use this word, I used to say it trumps it, but I don't like that word anymore. So I say it supersedes all this talk about classroom management, all this talk about discipline, all this talk about these stacks of behavior referrals. I say, if the culture of the school is conducive to young people engaging the way you want them to engage, and staff to engage the way you want them to engage, then you don't have to worry about an AP being a full-time disciplinarian. So, and I know that's hard for some people to swallow because of their current realities, but I will stand on that forever. But my question to you, therefore, What would you say to an AP now about thinking about what I should be thinking about as it relates to the culture of the school that I will one day lead, as opposed to I get the job and now I'm thinking about culture?
So the word that comes to mind is intentionality. It's one of those things, right? It's like the floor. You don't think about the floor unless you step into a space and there's a hole in it. Culture. But you've got to make sure that you built the groundwork, built the foundation so that the culture is strong there. How do you start? I'm a data person. So I'm looking to see what are the byproducts of culture, right? Those byproducts look like attendance. They look like behavior. They look like, even for the adults, are the teachers at school? Do they want to come to school? Are they eager, even though the work is hard? Are they showing up in a way that they are doing the work? They're whistling while they're working, right? All of those are byproducts of the culture, right? So this is a simple one, but I can never say it enough. Energy is contagious. When you get on here in the morning and you listen, we're all at home like, yeah, energy is contagious. So people ask, where do you start? You start with you. You start with you. And people ask all the, that's why I do so much personal development coaching. It starts with you. Like I said earlier, I cannot be negative Nancy, negative Nicole, walking into a building trying to be positive, petty, a positive principal. It is not going to happen. So you've got to work on you, friends. You've got to work on you and your energy. The research, physics, fancy way of saying physics, right? It's clear. What you feel resonates outside of you, right? A vibe is a real thing. Like I can pass by Kafele and not say a word. That acknowledgement, all right? The energy that he's putting out, I can feel it walking, but I assure you I can. So everybody all around the building is walking around with these bubbles of vibes around them all day. What's the bubble? What if I get in your bubble? What am I feeling? Am I drained or am I energized? Right. So you're looking at how do you work on that? You work on that by transparent conversations. You work on that by in the work practicing those attitudes of gratitude. Because again, the research is clear. One cannot feel extreme senses and feelings of stress at the same time they're feeling gratitude. So you think that's really random. It is random, but it's not when we're talking culture, because culture is about vibe. Have you set the stage for student achievement to happen? All right. That's what we're talking about with culture. So yeah, it matters how you feel. It matters how you walk into a building. It matters what you are looking like. A lot of times we talk about the students. We talk about the students and, oh, she's so disrespectful, but so are you. So are you, and you want her to be. Kids are not the kids that we were growing up, right? We see that. The nature of the beast has changed. So if we want to be impactful, effective, and create a new generation, right, of the way that we operate, how are you modeling that? You must walk the talk. That is a non-negotiable for me personally and professionally. Walk the talk. I cannot say one thing and do something else and expect people to do just what I'm saying if my walk is not matching my talk. Yeah. So again, walking the talk is for your culture. AP, you know that teacher is hollering at those students. She's giving you 1,000 referrals. When you gonna have that conversation with her? Yeah. Instead of just sending the babies to ISI or telling the baby, I know she bad, baby. Or even telling the parent, because you guilty. Yeah, I know she, I know. No, you know, but does she know? And are you holding her accountable for making that adjustment? Because again, see something, say something. Yeah. We let too many negative and undermining behaviors go on in our building, and then we want to see positive results. It's not going to happen. I will also say this: the more that you are holding people accountable, you need to be intentional in providing the affirmation once you see the change, right? Yeah. So I'm pressing you to do this, but if I'm pressing, and you are working hard, you're putting forth the effort, and I never acknowledge that you're trying, I never acknowledge that I see a change, guess what people say? And this is harsh, but damned if I do and damned if I don't, right? No, you've got to, the more you press, the more you've got to praise. So again, pressing and praising is a part of changing and transforming culture. Accountability and affirmation are as well. So you just got to make sure that you're doing that. But again, you're being transparent. You're being honest, right? If we want to see changes, we've got to, and let me add this, Kafele, because I'm getting old. Sometimes you need to clean your glasses out before you look in the mirror, okay? Sometimes multiple layers to this, that personal development, that personal reflection. What are you doing to make sure that you are stepping into the space, whatever the space is, ready to make positive impact?
That was powerful stuff, and I'm looking at the comments, and they all agree. That's good information, great information. You know, Dr. Nelson, that transition from teacher to AP and becoming coach, the word you just used, coach, instructional leader. And then that transition from becoming AP, the principal, and being that coach / instructional leader. I think that's the biggest challenge that administrators have, that school leaders have. How, because like Sean Hurt comes on at 10 o'clock on Saturdays, and Sean will always say that, principal, you got to be in the building, in the classrooms 80% of your day. And I know people are listening to him saying, man, you crazy. Do you know what's on my schedule? But when I hear him say that on Saturday morning, I'm saying amen, right? To live in them classrooms. But see, a lot of that speaks to culture. But what I want to ask you, what would you say to that AP in terms of just the encouragement that you must be coach, you must be instructional leader in your current capacity, but more so in terms of the topic of today's discussion, when you become that principal?
This is, I try to keep things simple, Kafele. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, why are we in the schoolhouse? Why are we at the schoolhouse, right? We're there so that we are educating our children to become ... right? To be the best that they can absolutely be. Where does that take place? Right? That takes place, of course, in the totality of the school, but in those individual classrooms, right? So I would say for my new people that, you haven't lended yourself to instructional coaching, you're new to it, chunk it. You eat the elephant one bite at a time. Don't go in with the lens, right, of looking at everything that the person is doing. What's your zone of genius? In the instructional realm, what were you great at in your classroom, right? And you leverage that. Start there. You've always got to grow. You got to evolve. Let me say that again. You must evolve. You must evolve as a leader. You got to keep growing. But I would start there. So if you were the queen of student engagement, start there. Go in with a zoned in purpose, zoned in resources, and support them with that. And people do better when you chunk it anyway. Because listen, if you give me too much to work on at one time as a teacher or even as an AP, I'm overwhelmed. I'm shutting down and I'm doing none of it. So we are better fit and we better position people to progress if we chunk it and go in with an eye and let them know. Have you provided training in that area, right? So start there. Start with PD on, we'll stay there, student engagement or culturally relevant teaching. Start there. Then you start providing that coaching on that, right? Hey, we talked about this in action. This is what it looks like, right? And also being a model. It's 2023. And just because you hold the title does not mean you hold the weight. You could be the principal, but the teacher down the hall can say it and everybody move and use it. So let me say that again. You can have the title and not have the pressure, right? To be able to get the results that you need. So one of the ways that we can gain the respect and keep the respect and build the respect of our teachers is modeling. So you were a good teacher, right? Jump on back in, pull the sleeves up. Listen, I want to help you in this area. This is what it looked like for me. Now let's put your flair on it because it's important that we continue and intentionally communicate to people that I want you to be fiercely authentic. I want you to be you. How do you make this yours, right? How do you make this strategy, this tool, right, this resource yours in your classroom? So chunking it, I would say, is the first thing. Don't try to take it one step at a time. The other thing for me is always progression over perfection. So a lot of times we stall on things, we procrastinate because we realize we're not perfect at it. Stop that. Take the pressure off of being perfect. You don't need to be perfect, right? As a matter of fact, people will respect you more for saying, I'm still growing in that area, versus pretending to be the end all be all or something. And clearly we see you, Pinocchio.
Yeah.
So just making sure that you're keeping the humanity of it. Like I will say this, Principal Kafele, the more I learn, the more I recognize and have to acknowledge that, I don't know as much as I thought I knew, right? Yeah. Even with this shift here, well, it's a whole nother world to education that I did not realize existed, if I'm being honest. So I think, again, for you and for the people that you're working with, keeping that mind frame and that coaching mind frame is progression over perfection, taking the pressure off to be perfect and to get it right. And I encourage people to fail. You might think, what in the world? Mm-hmm. One of my guiding questions for the week, if I was meeting, how did you fail this week? What did you try new? Did you color outside the lines, right? Did you try something new? Because we've got to create these safety nets that people know, if I flop, she got me. It's okay. She's not gonna come in here and beat me up. She's not gonna go run and tell who. No, she's got me, right? And we're gonna work through this together. So, and that's the same thing for students, right? And we're talking about building relationships and culturally relevant instruction. How are you supporting, right? Risk taking. Yeah. How are you supporting that is very important as an instructional coach. Again, you got to have that respect. So you got to start with that, How do you build that? How do you gain that? How do you keep that? Yeah, good stuff. I left this comment on the screen. This is one of my Jersey homies, DL Tide, and I thought that was a good question. You and I talked about that off camera before we came on. Can we talk about being overwhelmed? Right, that balance. What would you say to her? One of the greatest things that you can do for yourself. And this is something that, you always ask those questions. I wish I had done it earlier in my career. I wish that someone had told me and sat down and said, if you don't manage your time, your time will manage you. Yeah. And, this is for all positions, but especially that AP position, because people really don't, like you said, people don't understand the pressure of the AP position, because often you're the middleman. You are the middleman, and the middleman get beat up on both ends a lot of times, right? From the teachers, from the parents, from the principal. So it's important that you are managing your time. Do a time study. This is my challenge to everyone that's on here, right? Next week, track, and you're going to say, I don't have time to track. Yes, you do. Old-fashioned pen and paper. Mm-hmm. Keep it with you. And listen, I'm old-fashioned, so I prefer writing things over typing, right? Or if it's typing, track just for next week where you're spending your time. Legit 7:30 to 8:30, I was doing whatever. You will be blown away at the missed opportunities to make impact on teaching and learning. And the more that's one of those slap you in your own face type of deals. The data will show you very quick, and you don't even have to show anybody or tell anybody you're doing it. Guess what? It's about cleaning my own mirror before I can help somebody else be their best self, right? Just do that next week. Just track your time. Don't try to alter it. Just a normal day for you. What does that look like? Yeah. So after you track it, I want you to go back and track. Is this instruction related, teaching and learning related? Or is it, you can even break it down and say if your main task is discipline. Track that so that you can then create these SMART goals to help you manage your time better and start spending it more of where you want to grow in, right? And where you're going to have the impact. And we know it's in teaching and learning. I'm with Sean on that. 80%. Is that lofty? Is it hard to do? Yes. Yeah. Nobody said this deal was easy. Nobody ever said it was, right? But if you're going to make your greatest impact, that right there, that time management piece is where I would say, I promise you, it slapped me in the face. And even every now and then I was like, wait, I need to go back to it. I need to go back and revisit to see where, you will see that you're allowing people to suck you into things that ain't got nothing to do with teaching and learning. Nothing to do with teaching and learning. Nothing to do with helping empower this child to create better habits to be successful in school, right? Nothing to do with the putting out a positive brand. It's just other stuff that sometimes we got to tell the adults they got to get their lives together.
Yeah. You know, that's a powerful thing you just said, to track your movement throughout the course of the day.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, it's to me, it's comparable to have somebody film you for a day, just follow you with a camera, and you're going to see some things that make you cringe, because it happened to me. So here you are with a journal, and you just writing down the amount of time you're spending doing XYZ, and you find out you are grossly misusing your time. What a great idea. So I just want to endorse that. Hey, somebody, bring your journal. Or you know, the new school heads, use your phone, whatever it is, and
Right.
just track your time. And you're gonna find that, wow, I do have more time in the day, because I'm wasting valuable time, minutes, seconds, right? Hours, whatever it is. But if you don't track it and make it concrete, you can't see it.
That's right.
So then going back to the question, sometimes we feel overwhelmed. I can't get it all done because we're not utilizing our time correctly.
And even down to, you know, and this isn't the conversation, but it is the conversation because we're talking about AP and what do you do and how do you become this effective instructional leader? Feedback. Let me go back there for a second. It's one thing to tell a teacher your classroom management is off, right? Or it's one thing to tell a teacher kids are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. It's something so simple but completely impactful to tell a teacher 14 out of 16 of your students were off task versus just saying, I don't know what they were doing, right? And you can define the off task behaviors if you want, but to quantify it, right? How do we create the space where we're taking the feelings out of it? And too many times people don't want the feedback because they feel it's how you feel. They think that's just how she feels. No, I'm taking the feelings out. So no feelings, just facts. There were 2 out of 5 students in your classroom did A, B, C, D, F, G, or 3 students were on their cell phone, or this. You spent 3 minutes on a bell, just quantifying. Being intentional in quantifying whatever the feedback is can help people to see, oh no, that's a fact. Yeah. Not a feeling, not an emotion. That's evidence, all right? Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna say evidence of whatever it is that you're working on. So
now Yolanda McKinney out in Arkansas, I just wanted to address this real quick. What do you suggest when your time is planned out, but you have a distraction that needs your attention? How do you curb the things that draw you away? And let me go first, and then you tag team with me. For me, Yolanda, distractions, they're gonna happen, right? No plan is foolproof, right? You can have a plan, but things arise that require your immediate attention. So when you're planning, you infuse those contingency plans for when those inevitables are going to come up, because they're going to come up. So you can't let that discourage you. But I'm talking about your day-to-day grind, right? And those distractions that you may have created for yourself because you're not focused on a schedule that you have made in terms of being able to get everything done that you want to get done. But when those distractions, you know, in my case as a principal, the superintendent calls and I got to go to his office and have a comment, I can't do nothing about that. Or the parent pops in and there's something drastic that she needs to talk to me about. I got to do that, right? I might even have to get called out of class, right, if I'm observing. But those distractions are the few and far between versus the ones that we have some level of control over. But I just wanted to throw that at you. I want to turn that over to you, though, Doc.
I agree. I support and I help coach around coming up with some very specific responses. Going back to communication, you got to be real clear in your communication, right? So if your focus is on teaching and learning, and Miss Jane wants to come up and talk about during your passing, you know you're headed to do a feedback session or observation with a teacher. Teacher B comes up and just wants to rant and rave about Tyler Jacob not turning in his homework. Mm-hmm. Let her know, this is important to me. But right now, I have an appointment with teaching and learning. Can you meet me after school at 3:20? I would love to finish this conversation, right? So coming up with 2 or 3 very short but specific responses that you have programmed in your head every time, because you don't have time to waste to explain it, right? Yeah, my time is valuable. This is the other thing about time. Keep it balanced with your family. Keep and I can say this and I can speak, and this is another reason why I know I'm operating at an even higher level of my purpose. I wish I had had somebody early in my career to say some of these things to me. You better keep your family, your work-life balance. That is too a part of your time management. If you are constantly missing your own baby's games, your own baby's drama performance, your parents' dinner, we've got to make sure that we are keeping things in balance and keeping it perspective. And so what you will find, the more that you manage your professional time within the scope of your day, it gives you the opportunity to decompress before you get home, before you make it to your baby's game, so that you are fully present with them, because they deserve you too.
That's right.
They absolutely deserve you too. So again, 2 or 3 things. And for those of you that are fortunate enough to have an admin assistant, they can listen. Kudos to admin assistants. Matter of fact, you need to text your person now if you have them and tell them thank you. Thank you for how you protect me. Thank you for how you support me. Tell them somebody comes looking for me. The response is this: she is engaged in supporting teaching and learning, or she is this, and she will get back with you at this specific time, right? You have those, like Principal Kafele said, you got some things that are fires that, yeah, I got to put that out. But what you will find when you start tracking your time, you will see that some of that stuff is Jane needs to just go over there and do what she got to do. Stop all that whining and complaining.
Yeah.
And hold folks accountable with affirmation for doing what we've got to do in our schools.
That's right. Hey, y'all, look at what time it is. It's 12:48 Eastern time. I'm not gonna be able to exhaust everything I wanted to ask today, folks. I just got a couple more, and we're gonna have to do a part 2 at some point. We're gonna have to, because I'm not even halfway through. I was over ambitious. I'm only a third of the way.
I'm an old country girl that likes to cook and sit on the porch and eat. Okay, so let's go.
Yeah. No, we're gonna do a part B at some point, and but I do want to ask you this, because I still want to get to the BAM impact questions.
Okay.
But first, a lot of APs, not all, but a lot of APs have zero involvement in budgeting.
Mm-hmm.
So they go from managing their checkbook at home, which is not always the best, right? But they manage their checkbook at home, and now they get to school, and depending on the size of the school, might have a multi-million-dollar budget, and they've never dealt with that kind of money with this, just a plethora of different account lines, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say to an AP in terms of what they're thinking about now toward mentally preparing for the principalship as it relates to being able to jump into a budget, because that budget's going to be thrown at you as soon as you get there?
Day one. That's right. So I would say that this is an area, if we're honest, Principal Kafele, principals can't support the APs in it because they've not mastered it themselves. It's hard to lead beyond your level of experience. So that's one of those things that, offer some grace even with the principal perspective. But again, building a strong relationship with your principal to say, do you mind me learning from you on this, right?
Yeah.
And if you build those true trusting relationships, you might find them saying, well, I don't know. And in that situation, it's a, how dare you see something and not say something? It's a, let's explore together. That self-discovery, self-exploration, is a part of you becoming your best self personally and professionally. So it's one of those things that is real iffy. But I assure you that most business officers, managers that I've worked with, if you call them and say, hey, I need you to come, they assume, again, we got a lot of assuming taking place in education and schools across, the United States. Yeah. We assume people know, but when we bring it to their attention, hey, I want to be clear on this, right? Kind is clear. I want to be very clear on what this is that I'm looking at. What should I be doing? How should I be moving? So I think just being honest enough to say that I don't know, but I want to learn. I want to grow, and proactively reaching out for support in that area.
Love it. Love it. Let me go with one or two more. Staff morale is an issue that a new principal, AP transitioning into the principalship should be thinking about, because you could be as excited as you want to be, your community, your family, everybody's excited. They're giving you a party. There's maybe the local paper wrote something. Yeah, got it all going on. And then you walk into that school and that staff's not happy to see you. And then it goes downhill. What do you say to that AP transitioning to the principalship about ensuring that the morale is sky high of the teachers in that building?
So one of the most impactful things that I think a principal, a new principal, or transitioning AP can ever do is take the time. We're talking about professional time. So you may feel when you're going in, I don't have time. You better make time. Have those individual conferences with every single person in that building. You want to ask them a couple of very intentional, targeted questions, right? You want to know about them. You want to know what value they feel like they bring to the table. You want to know, are there any barriers for them being able to bring their best self? And then you want to let them know that they're a part of the team, right? It's shared leadership. What would you do? What do you see from your perspective? Because it is so, I can't say it enough. Principal Kafele, tell me right now, in front of you, what do you see? If you look in front of your screen, what's in front of you?
You mean the screen itself?
Not the screen, but above the screen. Just straight up in your house. What do you see?
Oh, in my house?
Yeah.
Oh, I see a bookcase and a TV.
Okay. Straight ahead where I'm sitting in my house, I see a window. Too many times we assume that folks can see the same thing, and we just absolutely cannot.
Right.
So depending on where you sit, you see something totally different. Letting people know that you value their perspective is very important, right? Yeah. A lot of times we just go in and we push in, we press in, right? And people kick back to that. But how do you really create this? Again, collective efficacy is the word. How do you start off letting people know, I want to know about you, and you say you're good at that? I need that. And we're depending on you so that we can be our best self. So those individual conferences, because you'll quickly learn who has the weight on the campus, right?
Yeah.
It might not be the AP that's been there for 20 years. It might be the history teacher or the custodian.
Yeah.
Custodians are running buildings, Kafele.
Yeah. I just wanted to, I don't know if you know Beth Taylor Huff, but that is, she's
amazing.
Yeah. The national principal of the year.
Yeah, she is awesome. My middle school crew. I'm a middle school person.
That's right. Yeah. Good to see you, Beth.
Hey, Beth.
Yeah. Let me do this, because it's almost 1:00 my time. Folks, we're gonna do the BAM impact questions, but let me tell you what I didn't cover, because I want you at least thinking about this, and then we'll be back on here for a part 2 later. I'll save these notes in terms of what I didn't cover. I still want to cover school schedule,
okay,
core values, data analysis, staff relationships and collaboration, PLC, staff development focus, student engagement and activities, equity focus, school environment, parental engagement, community engagement, and first day of school with staff and students. So you see there's a lot there.
Yes.
And then after that, I still had 4 more questions.
Gotcha.
I was a little ambitious, as always. So we're gonna definitely do come back, and I'll reach out to you and schedule it. But let's go to those BAM impact questions, y'all.
All right, let's go. Let me sit up in my seat, Kafele. Wait a minute, wait.
Yeah. Here we go. 1 word or 1 sentence only. Is education on the right path for underserved children?
Right path, wrong pace.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can true equity occur in America's schools for Black, brown, and other underserved students?
Absolutely, it can.
Does Dr. LaQuanta Nelson's work contribute to the progress we desperately need?
Absolutely.
If you could do a reset on your life, would your line of work be different or the same?
I'm in my zone right here.
Why do you continue to do this work?
Because there's such a need more now than ever. I think, stop it. One sentence. Yes, there is absolutely a need and a space for this work at this time.
What fires you up within the work that you do?
Getting people to see that they are they are capable. They've got the power to make great impact.
What do you love about the work you do?
That there are LaQuantas that will turn into Dr. Nelsons because of it.
What do you dislike about the work you do?
Folks that are in the wrong seats that just absolutely don't want to see that there is hope. So they continue to do the same ineffective practices that, slow down progress for students that need the progress the most.
What has been your greatest victory in this work thus far?
I think the simple things, though, you get the awards, that stuff is fleeting, it lasts for a day, but the true impact is the day-to-day, how are you treating people? And so when you get the invitations to come to law school graduation, or you get the, hey, I was a teacher of the year from former students, that's impactful to me.
What was your greatest mistake in this work?
Waiting too long to be bold.
I
say that. You're waiting too late to just stand. Hey, say something. No, that's not right.
There it is. What has been your greatest challenge in this work?
So, Principal Kafele, I'm one of the younger ones that started out younger. So, getting people to see past what back then, I'm old now. Getting people to see past the age, and to be honest, it's still a male-driven space when you get into admin. So, getting people to see past this young Black female, right, it was a barrier, and still is at times.
Yeah, definitely. Are you proud of your first year as an assistant principal?
Yes, I was in a very special situation where the person saw me as I was it. So they coached me and they made sure that I was successful. So absolutely.
Are you proud of your first year as a principal?
Yes. We had some amazing things happen that year. We were able to carry the torch on, man.
Who inspires you in the work you do?
Kafele, Kafele, absolutely. And we've got some ladies here in the state that support our underperforming schools here at our state level that are amazing champions as well.
Outstanding. What are you reading now? Book, blog, article, anything?
So I'm always reading three things, Kafele. I'm always reading something for self-help for me, because I understand that how I show up in a space carries weight. Okay, so self-help. I'm always reading something in my craft, education, and I'm always reading young adult literature, because again, we all should be literacy leaders too. So I'll share with you my self-help right now. Finding Me.
Yeah.
It's been really good. So, yeah,
that's what they tell me. What book do you recommend for our viewers?
Oh. Relevant for today. And can I say, I wish that it wasn't. Does that hurt your feelings that I say?
No, I say the same thing.
It was not what we needed right now, but it can't say it enough.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. What do you want to accomplish that you haven't accomplished yet?
I just want to continue to support folks and students and teachers and folks, all over the world, to help them see that they've got the power to transform generations. TED Talk would be cool too.
Yeah. Well, that's me too.
Yeah, TED Talk would be cool.
If the TED people are out there, I'm waiting. Right? Are you satisfied with where you are now professionally?
I am content, but I understand that I've got more dash work to do.
What could you say to a viewer out there who continues to face closed doors?
Kick the window in, go to the ceiling, go to the air vents, and understand that there's only one you. There's only one you in the whole wide world. So use that to your advantage. Leverage your fiercely authentic self.
There you go. What could you say to a viewer out there who's lost their fire?
Go back to the mirror, clean it out. What's your why? Why are you in education? It's surely not money, because folks, listen, down the street, the KFC just put up, the manager's making $25, $30 an hour. You calculate that in. Okay. What's your why? Why are you doing this work?
Why are you doing this work?
Why are you doing this work?
And lastly, if Dr. LaQuanta Nelson was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Empowerment would be the word that I would.
Empowerment, man. That's one of my words too. Let me get my bat, man. Hey, y'all, if you enjoyed it today, if you benefited from it, if you could use it, if you could relate to it, if you identify with it, give me them emojis like we do on Saturdays. A lot of y'all got ahead of me and already did, but give me them emojis. Let Dr. Nelson know that your time with her was well spent while I get the bat out. and let you know that, yeah, you did hit it out the park, grand slam, but you got to bat 4 times in the baseball game. So that's 16 runs, the max. Good
Thank
stuff.
you.
I see them flames. I see them flames. Hey, y'all, before I ask Doc to give her contact information again, those of you that checked in after my commentary, I've never done this before, but I'm going to do it today. Please go back when we go off and watch the commentary when I gave my thoughts about Tyre Nichols. It's a little impassioned, but that's okay. Please go back and watch that and just take it in. And I gave it to you through the lens of an educator. So go back and watch that as soon as we go off the air today. Hey, Doc, how do they get in touch with you?
So again, www.bosseducator.com. Contact@bosseducator.com is the email. And then Facebook is The Boss Educator. Twitter is @Dr. L.M. Nelson.
Love it. Love it. And when's that first book gonna be written?
Oh, Kafele, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming.
Because they want it, man. We had some high numbers today, and they would have been ready to eat it up, So, but we gonna do this again.
Yes.
I see that fire still coming, y'all. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yeah. Keep that fire coming. Listen here, y'all. I'm gonna close it out now. But I thank you all for being here every week. Next week, we're going into week number 145. I got a mother and daughter coming on. The mother, Tasha Potter, is assistant superintendent in a district here in New York State. And the daughter is assistant principal. So they're going to both be on mother-daughter to kick off Black History Month, which will be the first Saturday next week. So I'm looking forward to that conversation. So join us at 10:55 Eastern Time. Watch Sean Hurt, 10 o'clock Saturday mornings, Facebook Live. Create and Educate with Dr. Sheikah Houston and Dr. Tammy Taylor at 10:30. Unlock the Middle with Josh Tovar and Dean Packard at 7 on Sunday nights. And then Village Leadership Group with Dr. Roz Gaskins and Coach Williams, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6. My man, Dr. Manny Scott, is on at 9:30. The only thing about that is watch Manny at 9:30, but switch over to Sean at 10 o'clock, right? That's because we the Fantastic Force. I gotta make him my priority. Make sure that you get, if you don't have the Assistant Principal 50 and the Aspiring Principal 50, go to Amazon, get your copy today. In fact, why don't you just throw in the Principal 50 while you're at it? And then to round it off with my leadership books, you may as well throw in, Is My School a Better School Because I Lead It? And then my teacher books, they're all sitting down here. I ain't going to put them on the screen, but Is My School a Better School Because I Lead It? The Principal 50, the Assistant Principal 50, the Aspiring Principal 50, and then put it in your mental notebook. In May, the Assistant Principal Identity will be released. That's my newest joint. That'll come out in May. That'll be my 13th book. So visit principalkafele.com. Subscribe to the Virtual AP Leadership Academy YouTube channel. Subscribe, hit that red button. We just about at 17,000 followers or subscribers. I'm trying to get it to 17. So hit that little red button, and then with the next goal will be 20,000. Like and follow the Virtual AP Leadership Academy Facebook page. Once again, like and follow the Virtual AP Leadership Academy Facebook page, because that's the page where I post the commentary on Sunday, the written commentary. Every Sunday, not later than 10 o'clock unless things come up. It'll be on. So just make sure you like and follow that, because I got things to say that I write as opposed to articulate. And then lastly, your diet. Take care of yourself, y'all. Just do the right thing. Your exercise, get it in. I was on treadmills this week, like late into the night, man. Flights get in late. Still got to get that exercise in. And then your COVID-19 and other viruses precautions. Other than that, again, thanks for being here. I'll see you next Saturday. Have a great week. Have an extraordinary week. Have your best week yet. Peace. Peace. Thumbs up. Pop that fist back. 1, 2, 3. Bam!
Bam!
See y'all next Saturday. Have a great week and stay safe out here. It's rough in these streets.